Mike is Business Advisory and Tax Partner and Head of Agriculture at Creston Reeves. Creston was one of the early firms in, and they've put a lot of people through the training, and so they've been doing it for quite a while. So what we're hearing from there is a practitioner's point of view, from somebody who's actually doing the work. So, Mike, if you're ready, over to you.
Thank you, Mike. So when I was approached to just give a quick presentation, this is only a 15-minute slot, so it's going to be a very quick canter through. I think I was told there was going to be 20 or 25 in a workshop style, so it's great to see so many people here. So this is me, Mike Dyer. I'm a partner in Creston Reeves LLP, and I'm also one of the licensed probate practitioners within our firm. We were one of the early adopters of the probate services. I think we're number 8 on the list from an institute licensing perspective. So I was just going to give you a bit of a story, or a version of our story, where it's working, some of the issues that we foresaw along the way. But just quickly before I do that, so a little bit about us. So regional chartered accountancy firm based in the southeast of England, employing over 340 partners and staff for now. We've got an exciting merger coming around the corner in the next few weeks, which will expand that. Full service offering, and as you'll see a bit later, probate was one of those that we felt was just another addition to our range. That's where we're based, or will be based from 1st of June. So 6 offices at present, but increasing up to 10 when we merge with a firm down in Sussex. There will be other speakers, I'm sure, that will go through the sort of technical sort of detail about the opening up of the reserve services. But as has already been touched on, it was reserved for solicitors. That was opened up back in September 2014, and we became one of the licensed firms in early November. And as I think was touched on earlier, it was just a great addition to the full offering to a range of our clients. In terms of how we did that, so we put a team of 15 people through a SWAT probate and administration course. Having not studied for 20 odd years, that was quite an interesting exercise for me, but thankfully we got through it. 3 partners took the exam assessment together with a number of other staff. At that time it was just reserved for institute members, so we did have a number of other ACCAs that took the course but didn't follow through to do the exam. We then had to decide on appointing a head of legal practice and a head of finance and administration, so that's all been dealt with. But then the work really started in terms of the internal systems and procedures that we had to deal with internally. There is a lot of help out there, so SWAT were very good. We've got a whole raft of precedents and pro formas. Sweet and Maxwell gave us quite a good steer as well. There's quite a lengthy, voluminous reference book. So as a result of that, we set up some policies and procedures within our firm. One of our requirements is that all cases had to be supervised and signed off by probate partners, just to make sure that we met the quality assurance standards as part of the offering to clients. There is an ongoing training requirement. We're broadly 18 months in, so I'm guessing we'll probably need to go through a raft of update training of our probate team, which comprises about eight people that took the exam and successfully passed. And Janet is here, and no doubt we have had reviews by Practice Assurance. I think Ash came in last year, so it was fairly hot off the press after we started our probate service. So there is monitoring that is ongoing that we have to comply with. So in terms of some of the detail, so we have policy documents. They set out the policies and procedures in terms of how we go about dealing with probate cases. One of the prerequisites for us was to separate the client records from the record during life and the record in death, to ensure that we are keeping both sides of those services separate. We are keeping a central register, helpful for Practice Assurance and the QAD review visits, and also helpful for us in terms of just seeing how the service is progressing. As I say, we're 18 months in, and it seems to be working very well. The downside of this, invariably loads of checklists. So we've got checklists on dealing with the family, getting to know a bit more about the family history, collating the assets, dealing with the estate administration, the probate accounts, dealing with distributions to beneficiaries and so on. So there is quite a bit of paperwork that needs to be set up before before you can actually get involved in providing the service. Permanent file index is key as always, and we're currently in the process of just putting together a probate guide for family members, because what we have found is there's a lot of family members that just don't know how a probate process works, don't know the timescales involved. So a bit of education for family members is quite useful. From our perspective, client profile, as was touched upon earlier, it's a great addition to the client service offering. We've found that when we speak with our clients, and we are sort of softly marketing this at present, but when we speak with our clients, they generally don't see their solicitors from one year to the next, whereas generally accountants and business advisors, they'll see at least annually, if not more often during the year. So you'll get to know more about the family history, the family relationships, the individual mindsets of the individuals involved. We're not in the market for very, very simple estates at present, because I think the time cost involved is going to beat some of that. But as I say, for our client base, we see this as a very important and valuable service to add. We did have a bit of a debate about charge instructor. So there was a variety of views around the table as to whether it was time-based or whether we sort of follow the legal sort of view where it is generally time and percentage-based. And the view we took, given we have ongoing client relationships, hopefully multi-generational relationships, we felt to try and charge a value-based fee at a time when clients' emotions and family are under pressure is going to be immoral in my view. But so we've gone on a time-based approach, and that has resulted in some quite sizable savings for clients. Actually, we had one case where a solicitor was looking at charging time and percentage, and they were quoting something like £90,000 for dealing with an estate. The estate was only worth a couple of £1 million. It wasn't overly complex. We did the whole of that, and it came in a little over £20,000. So there was a very big cost saving for the client's family. In terms of marketing, this is a bit more of a tricky one, and I did see the results of the survey that SWAT did, which I won't steal anyone else's thunder. But marketing of this to the outside world, we did scratch our heads a bit. A number of accountancy business advisory firms already deal with legal clients, lawyer clients, solicitors clients, and there was a bit of a fear about stepping on those clients' toes. There was also a view that a number of these solicitors provide tax services, so there was a contrary view. At present, we are just doing a soft marketing approach to our existing client portfolio, so we're not actively marketing this publicly elsewhere. We'd rather just get it word of mouth through our client, our existing client portfolio. We have had a couple of cases where lawyers have tried to sort of jump on the bandwagon a little bit and bang the table to take over the estate administration. Ultimately, we've taken the view that it's the client family choice. So if they would rather use us to deal with the estate administration, if family members are appointed as executors, ultimately it's their utmost decision. In terms of add-on services, so we deal with a number of clients, from private clients through to business advisory through to corporates, and as part of that you'll be doing tax planning through life. We found that a number of client beneficiaries, when they've suddenly inherited a lump of money, are a bit lost as to what they then do with that money. So it does link quite well with our own financial advisory teams. And we've also added some planning and elder care accredited advisors as well. So it's just building almost a one-stop shop type approach. We can't yet do conveyancing, I don't think, and I don't know where Vernon is, but whether that's something that is going to come forward at some point will be interesting. So at the moment, as I say, soft marketing approach, we've produced a leave behind document for clients so they can start introducing that to their family members. It's got contact points about who to contact in the event of death, and also just explaining a bit more about the process. Longer term, whether the marketing of that will change, I guess the answer is yes. But having been one of the early adopters, I think we felt just a cautious, gentle approach was the sensible thing to do. In terms of work to date, so one of the points was, has it been worth it? Has it met our expectations? We've dealt with about 44 probate cases since November 2014. Broadly, half of those complete, half are ongoing. Obviously, as time progresses, more of these are coming through. The fee range is quite significant, actually. I mean, the one at the very top I'll touch on in a minute, but the average fees are coming out about $15,000 for a probate case. And this is mainly from existing clients that are approaching us to deal with the estate administration. The top one, and I will touch on contentious cases in a moment, but the top one was a particular case where there wasn't enough money in the pot to fund all of the legacies, and some of the beneficiaries were starting to get a bit contentious about where and why their legacies were being abated. In that situation, we had to stop work at that point, take proper legal advice. That legal advice confirmed that our understanding was correct. We could then carry back on with the estate administration to get it concluded. So just a couple of case studies because I thought it'd be quite interesting. So, and they range from this individual, so an elderly lady, no living relatives. We had to deal with everything. The estate wasn't particularly large. Everything was left to charities. But it involved us getting into dealing with funeral arrangements, dealing with house clearance, dealing with the house sale, all of her effects, applying for probate and dealing with the distribution of the estate. So the costs involved in that one particular case were about £12,500 plus VAT. And another one, unfortunately, hadn't made a will, so it was a slightly different approach to the case, but it did involve a limited company. We wound that up under a solvent liquidation at a time when you could still do solvent liquidation, so it got some cash out and in quite a tax-efficient manner. Dealt with creditors and HMRC and so on. So the fees in that particular case wasn't totally driven by probate and estate, but with the add-on activities as part of dealing with that came to about $25,000. So now that is probably not the norm. I think the norm is probably going to be in the region of the 10 to 15,000 with I'm going to say a fairly simple case, house, assets, maybe a business involved as well. This was a new change for us, so the starting point was understanding the Institute's probate regulations. SWAT were obviously very good in terms of helping us through that process and making sure we were becoming suitably licensed. Part of our internal issue, if there is an issue, which if you are going to go for probate, you probably do just need to think about, is people have already been involved in helping estate administration. The probate license is just the formal aspect of it, if you like. So we have got a bit of or had to go through a bit of a process to make sure that the right people were doing the right work. So we're ultimately not letting people who weren't authorised getting involved in estate administration. Document the engagement fully, so we've had to set up new engagement letters. Again, there's some quite good precedents around there. And also just make sure that the client family is in full agreement with what you're doing, because it is quite an emotional time, obviously, by definition. They've just lost a loved one. PI regulation, again, I'm sure other people will talk about that, but there is a minimum limit of £500,000 per claim. So I've touched on contentious matters, so we can't as yet act in any estate that is contentious. Having said that, we did have a case, as I mentioned, where it did fall into a contentious debate. We stopped work, we got legal advice, that was cleared, and we managed to get back and deal with the estate administration. Probably the biggest issue that people have to realise is you are dealing with people at a difficult time. They've lost a loved one. Hopefully you know quite a lot about their family relations and the individuals involved, but death and money and all that sort of aspect can do funny things to individuals. Client bank accounts goes without saying, so we've set up separate client bank accounts for all estate administration, and as I say, the ongoing training issue is something that we're sort of looking at from here on in. So for us, it's been a good service to add to our client range of services. Speaking with clients, and given the option of, we can deal with this or we can get your lawyer to deal with this, generally they've preferred us because we do know more about the family and the relationships and the detailed assets. You are dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis, and it seems to be if not a growth area, certainly an added service that people should really get involved in if they're dealing with clients on an ongoing basis. I think there's time for questions and answers later, Mike, isn't there?
Oh, well, actually, if we can save questions and answers to the panel session at the end, because we're up against time. We realise how full it is in here. We didn't realise there were going to be people hammering to get in earlier on. So we'll see if we can stop them trying to get in here. Mike, can I just thank you very much? That's been really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.